All right. It is now the top of the hour, 11 o'clock, and welcome everybody to the October 2019 In the Know webinar. For those of you who are frequent flyers, you'll notice my voice is much different because it is actually my first time presenting the webinar to you guys. My name is Angelica Kidwell, or I go by Angel. I work on the national accounts team here in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been on this team about 2 years now. I started out 9 years ago with Intuit Merchant Service, or QuickBooks Payments now, and I worked all the way up to QuickBooks Full Service Payroll, QuickBooks Assisted Payroll for desktop, you desktop users. And then I did decide that I wanted to take a leap into the accounting world, which I have loved. I love working with the pro advisors and with the accountants and with the accountant firms. And I really had a goal to work on the national accounts team to work with those accounting firms, which I started 2 years ago. So this is me. It is my first month actually presenting, although I do work in the background of In the Know. It is my first time speaking. I will let you guys know that I am not a professional presenter, which you may notice. So there may be a few times that I fumble or stumble a little bit, and I will just pick right up where I leave off. Right now, what we're going to go through today is welcoming you guys, which we have done, the CPE credit eligibility. We will review the feature topics. Then we will go through each feature topic. Then the accountant resources, which I have had to put together brand new this month. And then we will conclude this webinar as well. Please utilize the question section of the webinar panel, not just for questions on the content, but for any feedback to make this webinar successful. We do appreciate any bit of feedback that you have and you are willing to give us. But please know that not all questions will be addressed during the session because of our limited amount of time. But anything that is not addressed, we will definitely address after the webinar and upload to the In the Know community site in about a week after it has concluded. If you do need help with anything else that's not related to the topic today, please contact support at the 888-333-3451 just so we can help you guys further, okay? So for the CPE process today, this webinar is eligible for 1 hour of CPE credit. You must answer a minimum 3 polling questions and attend the 50 minutes minimum. The CPE certificates will be emailed about 3 weeks after the webinar concludes, and that will be to the email address that you use to register on the website. If you need to add the accounting _training at intuit.com to your approved email sender list, and you should get those. I know I've had a few that said they didn't receive them, and once we did that, that did help. So for today, our CPE learning objectives, we're going to identify recent changes to the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. We're going to understand recent additions to the QuickBooks Online payroll. The featured topics are QuickBooks Online Payroll HR Services, QuickBooks Online Payroll HR Support Center product demo, and then QuickBooks Online Payroll HR Elite Experience. And we'll go through all those today for you guys. One more time, I would like to show you guys that the handout is going to be uploaded in the handout section. I did say this before, but I'll say it again. I did upload the normal PDF version that Wayne and Wesley have always used that we create, but I was also asked to upload a Word document version. I have had some feedback that that would be a preference, so I did do that as well. Please let us know if you cannot open it, and just give us any general feedback about the handout as well, so I can address any concerns or opportunities at that time. So for those of you who can hear me, this is not for you guys, but for those who cannot hear, this is for them. If they can't hear, I did upload a document on how to troubleshoot browser issues, and I'll leave this up for a moment so they can take a look at it. Hopefully everyone can hear me, though, pretty well. I do have all of my neighbors taking into consideration that there is a live webinar going on, so hopefully you guys don't hear too much static on my side as well. So I'll leave this up for about 20 more seconds, and If they do have any problems, or if anyone has any problems with the audio or just in general, you can always visit the support link in the control panel, or contact GoToWebinar directly at that phone number there. So we are going to get into the topics for today. Right now, we are going to speak about the HR in QuickBooks Online Payroll. So users will now have quick access to certified HR support and advisory right inside QuickBooks Online Payroll. We are introducing my presenter today, David Sokolow. David, can...
Yes, I will take over right now. Awesome. Angel, you can see my screen appropriately?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Great. Well, it's really awesome to meet everyone. I'm very excited to present about HR. It's great to hear that 47% of you have worked on HR related activities in the past 3 months. So that's very relevant for this group, which is exciting to hear. A little bit about me. I am a product manager within the QuickBooks Online Payroll team. What we do as product managers is we're basically in charge of, building the software and releasing new features, working with engineers and designers to make sure that we deliver products that make your clients as well as you very excited. So it's awesome to present this to you, as well as get feedback from the poll questions, and I hope you're really excited to hear about what we're talking about today. A little bit about me. I'm very passionate about running. I've run 4 marathons. I also love trying new things. This past Tuesday, I did stand-up comedy for the first time, which was a hilarious experience. So happy to answer questions about that as well. I've been at Intuit for less than 1 year, and I'm based out of Mountain View, California. So with that, I will go ahead and I will dive right into the presentation. Awesome. So I'm going to start out talking about why HR and why we're focused on this in the first place. Then I will talk about how it falls within our new lineup. I'm aware this is news for a lot of you today. We're actually releasing, repackaging our 2 SKUs of self-service payroll and full-service payroll into a new lineup that we're going to give more detail at QuickBooks Connect, as well as in the Know section. So you get a little lucky preview today that I'll talk about. I'm going to run through a full product demo, actually illustrating the HR solution, so you guys get a really in-depth overview so you can explain it to your clients, which we're excited about, as well as talking about what's available in the new top SKU. So first off, why are we diving into HR in the first place? So the problem that we're solving is that HR tasks, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this with your clients, are time confusing and low confidence for small businesses. But as they grow and hire more employees, HR becomes a need for them to define structure, reduce risk, as well as provide value for their employees. And so similar to what QuickBooks has done in the accounting space, as well as what QuickBooks has done in the payroll space and other areas, what we would like to do is provide small businesses with simple and useful tools and content to help them manage HR confidently as they grow. We recognize that HR means something very different when you are, a 1 to 2 person business just starting out, or you're a 3 to 8 person business just really starting to get off the ground and become more stable, or you're an 8 to 20 person business that's really starting to grow and build out structure, or you're 20 plus and you've really built something that's quite meaningful. And so it's our goal to build a product that gives customers the right HR at each stage as they grow, and saves them time, helps them reduce risk, and ultimately helps run their business with much more confidence. So with that, I will move into the next slide to talk to you about how we're launching HR in QuickBooks Online Payroll. So as a quick primer, and this is what I mentioned earlier, the payroll team is launching a new lineup. So essentially, we're taking our 2 existing plans, self-service payroll and full-service payroll, and we're converting that into core, premium, and elite plans. And there's a ton of benefits that are rolling out with this that you can learn more about at upcoming QuickBooks Connect, or if you participate in the next In the Know webinar, you can really understand the full slate of these plans. But specifically for HR, in the Premium and Elite plans, the top two plans, what we're giving users access to is, in Premium, we're giving them access to a QuickBooks HR Support Center. That's what I'm primarily going to be demoing today. And essentially what it is a full content site that provides an extensive library of documentation, legal resources, essentially everything a company could ask for in order to really build out their HR competency over time. We launched this through a partnership with a company, Mammoth HR, who's been an HR expert in the space for some time. They also work with Think HR, which is another HR expert. So really there's a lot of high quality content that's in this that we'll review today. So essentially your small businesses can stop Googling for HR advice where they feel less confident and really go to a source that's valuable, that really helps them build out that competency in a meaningful way. The second part of it, which is for the Elite plan, which will be the top plan that customers can have access to, is in addition to the QuickBooks HR Support Center, which is the online only content resource that they have access to, Elite users will actually also get access to a HR hotline, essentially, where they can call a certified HR representative with at least 4 years of experience in order to ask any question that they want about their business, to get personalized advice, assistance with document creation, and they can call this person as many times as they like. And I'll dive into a little bit more about what that means at the end when we talk about the Elite service. The first thing that we're going to introduce is the Premium experience. And so if you go into QuickBooks and you go into where the Workers tab, if you sign up for the Premium plan, which will be the second plan offering, and just so everyone knows, these three plans, I imagine it might be a question, are slowly rolling out to users. So we're starting to roll them out to new customers right now. So some folks might actually be hearing about this already in the market, and then it's our plan to roll them out to existing customers in the spring. And so that's when a lot of you might start seeing this Core versus Premium versus Elite when it might come to you. And as I mentioned, they'll talk more about that in next month's webinar. But essentially in the Workers tab where payroll exists today within QuickBooks, but also if you purchased payroll standalone, there will be a new Human Resources tab on the far end here. And that's where you will find this information related to HR. And what you get in the Premium experience is access to this HR Support Center, which I'm going to dive in and demo. And essentially, once you click this green button here, you'll go into that HR Support Center, which is a separate dedicated site that we built partnering with Mammoth to give users access to all of that content. One thing I would highlight about this is we heard a lot when we launched this feature from our customers that they want quick access to content that's relevant to them. So one way that we design this is you see all of these quick links here at the bottom around state and federal guidelines, wage and overtime law, employee management. This gives users direct access to that content, so it's a little bit faster and more relevant as they're going through it. It makes it easier to navigate. Below this, actually, there are FAQs that we've heard are really popular questions that employers ask about HR. And, you know, what do I do with the termination, or how do I manage a conflict in my workplace, where we link directly to relevant articles. And we saw some initial user feedback that that's very valuable for folks as well. So we're going to go ahead and actually dive into the product demo. So I'm going to shift my screen here to the HR Support Center, which, Angel, is this appearing okay in the window for everyone?
I do see it okay, but if you guys cannot, just definitely put that in the questions log, please.
Okay, just feel free to interrupt me and let me know. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
So once folks click that green button, Search HR Support Center, or they click one of those links from within our product, you'll then be led to this new tab that will open up, which is this Intuit QuickBooks plus Mammoth partner site, which is the HR Support Center. This I'm really excited to demo for you guys today because it is an exceptionally content-rich site that I would advise you, as you're talking to your customers about this new plan, I would advise you to think about this as your dedicated resource for HR. There's really no need to go to Google for an HR question after this, because all of this content is created by HR experts, so it's validated. It's best practice, just so you know. It's not it's not legal advice, but it is best practice from HR experts from that perspective. So if they have a question for a lawyer, they should obviously speak to a lawyer. But for all of 90 to 95% of their HR needs, this should really be able to give them a resource, as I mentioned, to save time in tedious HR tasks and reduce confusion, as well as improve confidence around what they're doing.
And David, I just want to interject really quickly because we all saw how you got there on the Workers tab in QuickBooks Online. A lot of the questions that we're seeing right now is, will this be offered in Intuit Online Payroll or one of those standalone products?
So that's a great question, actually. So this is only available in QuickBooks Online Payroll for premium and elite users. It won't be available in Intuit Online Payroll, but if you purchase Online Payroll standalone, our payroll first product that's not connected to QuickBooks, it is available, but it's not available in Intuit Online Payroll, just to be clear on that point.
Okay, wonderful. And then we are seeing a redundant amount of questions regarding will this QuickBooks Online HR service be available for QBO A users or QuickBooks Online accountant users?
So if you purchase a premium and elite subscription through QuickBooks, you should be able to have access to it. It will come with that when that rolls out to those users, which is actually coming very shortly. And in the next month's webinar, they can explain that in more detail. The only area where accountants wouldn't get access to this, if you're on QuickBooks Online, is if you're accessing through a client's account.
Okay.
So just so you know, if you have your own elite subscription to manage your practice, then you would get access to this HR support center. However, if you are accessing a client's QuickBooks and you're in their QuickBooks and then you go to the HR tab, you'll see a little notification that says it's not available for accountants just yet. The only reason we did that was because there was a little bit of technical challenges around offering that initially. But obviously we've seen, even in the poll questions today, this is a big area where accountants are interested and do a lot of resources for their clients. So we are going to be rolling it out fully to accountants, no matter how you have access, very, very shortly. It's something that's on our roadmap over the next few months.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so with that, I'm going to dive into the different areas of the product to really give you guys as much information as possible. Because what I imagine happening is, as your clients get access to a premium or elite subscription and they have access to the HR tab and they start to see that, what we would love is if they have questions about termination or job descriptions or where they are with HR, you can point this to this HR resource. You can point them there, so that way you don't necessarily have to answer the question for them, and you can feel confident that the advice is created by HR professionals who are really experts in the space. So the first thing I wanted to show you is the Topics tab. So within the Topics tab, any user can come in and look at information ranging from benefits to culture, hiring, HR administration, technology, privacy, and terminations. I'll just give you an example of how this works. For terminations, essentially what this does is, for topics, it gives you all of this different type of information that might be relevant for this topic. So we know from working with our partner that terminations is one of the biggest areas that employers have questions about, because it's a high risk area, right? When you're firing someone, they don't want anything bad to happen. And so what is available in here is 2-minute HR, which are short video trainings that they can have access to. There are articles on all of the different topics, and all of this is based on questions that these HR representatives have been getting over the years that they've been in business, so it's really relevant. They have checklists to make sure that terminations are going in the right way. They have forms for anything that might be needed, like an exit interview, a final paycheck acknowledgement. guides available for how that process should work. They have trainings available for specific areas related to termination, like steps before discipline or termination to make sure people are doing this in the correct way, helpful infographics, laws related to termination, letters that someone could use as a template if they were going to go out, and I'll explain some of the stuff in more detail, news related to termination that's relevant for them, policies that a company could leverage on their own if they wanted to use their own policy, as well as the last two areas, a Q&A stream, which is areas where they've seen a lot of questions, and training on demand, as I mentioned before. So as you can see, for every single topic that someone could have a question about for HR, essentially what this platform provides is a 360-degree view of resources that someone could leverage to make sure that they have a policy in place, they're saving time when they're creating documents, they're trained on doing it the right way, they're following the right laws. Really, it positions you to be really successful in how you operate. And the better that I think you know these resources and have them to pull, the more easier that if a client has a question, you can say, hey, I know that this great checklist exists. Here you go, just leverage it. You'll put yourself in a position with significantly less risk. Or you're looking to write a termination letter. I understand that might be hard for you. Just use this template. It'll be less risk for you and it'll save you some time. And so it's really valuable. I quickly want to dive in. Some of the areas where we've gotten really great feedback are from users as we've tested this are the 2-minute HR videos. And so essentially what these are is they are 2-minute videos where someone gives a brief overview of what's going on that topic. It's really easy for someone to watch. They can play it in the background, and it gives you, what we've seen is small businesses really just love engaging this material in order to build confidence. And it just makes it very easy as they're busy throughout their day and they're working on other things. In addition to these 2-minute HR videos, there's this article content is something that we've seen, the articles, as well as if you go down here into the Q&A stream, we've seen users really enjoy this because it gives them a way to just simply read and get a little bit more intelligent as they're running their business. We know small businesses, when you're 4 to 6 employees, you're really focused on, how do I grow my business and how do I operate my business? And HR can oftentimes be an afterthought. The great part about this content, as you can recommend it to your clients, is that it's easy. It's written for small businesses, it's short, it's digestible, and it just makes them more confident what they're doing, and it's included in their subscription, and it doesn't cost anything extra. And so that's what makes it really valuable to them. So with that, I'm going to shift to the next area of the support center, which is really, really valuable, is the law database. So essentially, what is available at this law database is Mammoth works to where every time there is a new federal law released or there is a new state law released, they work to have that law in this database. So that way you can understand what's going on. Where this becomes really relevant, what we hear from a lot of small business customers is, I'm expanding in a new state, right? I've made the decision to open a business. We talked to a small business, which was a donut shop, gluten-free donuts based in Alaska. And she used our service and they were deciding to open up a new location in Colorado and wanted to understand what laws were different for them, as well as, what minimum wage do I need to pay if we're in Colorado and we're opening in Boulder? And so all she had to do was go here, select the state. They have information on all 50 states here. And then instantly you can see, okay, what's the minimum wage? How do I have to think about overtime law? That's probably the two most common questions that we see from small businesses around payment and thinking about overtime law. But then there's details on other laws that are relevant to them, whether that's wages laws, state leave laws, breaks, vacation. This information is organized in a really thoughtful way to make it very easy for someone to just peruse, really when it's relevant to them. The other thing that's really cool about this is when a user has, in QuickBooks, if a user has multiple work locations set up for their employees, so let's say they have one work location in California, they have another work location in Texas, and another work location in Colorado. That information actually gets automatically plugged in to the HR support center. And so what that means is that they'll, when they come into the product, they will see the laws that are relevant for them show up within the HR support center. And we built that so it makes that a little bit easier for people to consume this information. So I'll go through this a little bit more detail, but you can see that there is a database of federal laws that are relevant for the employees, where they can get access on anything that might be relevant for them specifically, ranging from drug testing, fair credit reporting, Family and Medical Leave Act, whatever's relevant for them, they can get this information here. What I would say is, as I mentioned earlier, this is, while it is a database of laws, it is not a legal resource. And so it's, if you do have a question, particularly pertaining for a lawyer, I would say use this as informational, as a guide. But if it's something that, you're looking for specific legal advice, we recommend that you go to a lawyer to get that advice here. But this can be a very good guide as they're thinking about their business and thinking about setting things up. We've seen it become very, very useful, and it's very comprehensive, and it's something that they can rely on, that they know is coming from HR professionals who've worked in the space for some time. And so you can do that with more confidence.
And David, I see that, and I absolutely love this, just working with the payroll support team, how this would have helped with questions back then. So this is wonderful. But I'm seeing I'm seeing some questions asking if there are local laws included in this finder as well, or if it's just at the state and federal level, if there's anything with local laws or county laws within their state.
So right now, this information is focused on state and federal laws, but that's a great question, and it is something that we can communicate to our partner. We appreciate this feedback, that getting access to local laws where relevant, can they provide updates in here, is something that is important to folks. And so that's something that we can follow up on and understand sort of where that is, but it's a great point.
Okay, and just to reiterate, this feature is available with QuickBooks Online, obviously, but also with the payroll standalone, the payroll first. Is that right?
Correct. So whether if you buy payroll by itself or if you buy it bundled with the QuickBooks Online accounting product, you'll get access to this in the premium or elite subscriptions.
Okay, and then it's included in those subscription prices, correct? It's not an extra added on fee on top of that?
Correct. It's all included.
Perfect, because that was a common question as well. And just to reiterate to the audience, because I see this question quite a bit right now, the featured payrolls that we are speaking about will be demoed in more depth next month. So we will be able to dive deeper into what each new payroll offering will have to offer at that time.
Yes, I'm very excited. That's definitely one that you guys shouldn't miss. There's a lot of new features in addition to this HR feature that are rolling out, so they'll probably touch on this briefly, but there's a lot that's coming out in these new plans. It's really valuable launch, and so I definitely recommend attending that.
Okay, and then just to restate, you do have to have some sort of payroll subscription, one of the two with Intuit, in order to have this benefit, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. All right. So with that, I'm going to demo some of the tools that they have access to that I think will help you out a lot. So 13% of you said you help your employees with writing employee handbooks or policies. So a gift for all of you is there is an employee handbook wizard that actually exists within this platform. And essentially what this does is, if you want to create an employee handbook, it's a 40-page document. It takes a lot of time. We actually spoke to a lot of accountants who we've heard some folks actually have templates that they exist. We've also heard that other people will leverage an employee handbook that was created by a past employer. But what this tool enables you to do, and I'll walk this through with you guys, is you can just say, I need a handbook. And there is an express employee handbook builder that you can walk to. and essentially spending about 10 minutes answering these questions about a client's business or the client answering these questions on their own, and they can get an employee handbook that's relevant for them. And so for this, it asks me state information. So configure your state employment. I'm California. Let's just say I have 6 employees. I click next, and then I'm going through the employee handbook wizard. It says, what's your organization's name? We'll say Dave's Diner, which is my dream business for opening, obviously after being product manager in QuickBooks Online Payroll. You enter the month and year when you would like this to be effective. So let's say it's October. I'm going to say November 2019. Provide a brief summary of your organization's history. Founded in 2019. Your organization's mission and vision, the best burgers and shakes in town is our goal, and our core values are eating good food. And so you can answer these questions. You go through how long is your introductory period? Let's say we don't have one. How many hours per week must an employee work to be considered full-time? We'll go ahead and say 30. To whom within your organization should employees report grievances? Let's just say CEO. We're a small company, so they'll just come to me. And you can see here on the right, it actually goes through and walks through all of the questions that you would be asking. And so this is all of the details. On what day of the week would your 7-day work week begin? We'll say Monday. When are your employees paid? We're going to say Friday. How often do you administer performance reviews? We just do this as needed. Your employees are paid bi-weekly. And do we loan salary advances? No, we don't. And so we'll go through here. And again, the great part about this is you don't have to think about what is needed from a handbook perspective. It just makes it much more simple. Which employees are offered sick leave? We're going to just say everyone here can get access to it. How many hours of sick leaves do they receive per year? We'll go ahead and say 40 hours. And what is the maximum hours of sick leaves an employees can have in their bank? We'll go ahead and say 80 hours. Is unused sick time paid? Yes. Do you offer vacation time? Yes. We're going to say this is relevant for everyone here. How many hours of vacation do employees receive each year? We'll go ahead and say 40 hours. What is the maximum they can have? We'll go ahead and say 120 hours. And so all of this is just making sure that I'm building this employee handbook with confidence. Do you offer PTO? And we'll go ahead and say here. And we'll go ahead and say 40 hours. Okay. And as you can see, this is super valuable because now I don't have to think about this and I have this all available. One of the things we heard from a lot of customers is oftentimes employers or small businesses can be reactive about this. And so typically, which we heard from our partner Mammoth, is that we're going to say, no, we don't close for holidays. Our diner's 24/7. No, we don't offer health insurance just yet. Do you offer not just yet? And we'll say yes here. And we'll say 2 days. And no, you can't work remotely. And so what this does is make sure that they have all of their policies written down. Do we want a policy for background checks? I'm just going to go ahead and fill this out so you guys can see the end result here. And it allows folks to make sure that they build something really comprehensive. So essentially, if something does happen, now that they have this handbook and it's all ready to go for them, and it makes it much more available. And so here, this is the Express handbook that I just built October 25th, 2019. And I download it, and then I immediately have access to it. And they have this document. And this is all free. It saves a ton of time. It reduces a lot of risk. And this employee handbook builder is actually one of the more popular features that we saw our clients use. And you know, the moment your client would get on a premium or elite subscriptions, one of my initial recommendations to them, if you were asking them questions, would be, do they have a handbook? Yes or no? If not, go through this Express handbook process. It's a 20 to 30 minute process, but it allows them to make sure all of their policies are written down and just puts them in a much better position to be successful, which is something that we're really excited about offering.
That is so neat. And you know what? I was wondering, and somebody actually posed this question: is it in regards to the employee handbooks? How would it assist a company with multiple locations? Can a company run multiple handbooks?
So that's a good question, and that's actually a question for, I would say, one of the HR pros in the Elite subscription to answer, because I don't want to give an answer without making sure that's compliant in terms of dealing that with multiple locations. I would say if you have multiple states in here, that will show up as you're building out the handbooks when you remember it asking me the states in the initial setup. So the
Yes.
tool can actually handle that. Whether or not you can have multiple handbooks in multiple locations, I'm not sure. But what I would say is you can actually build multiple handbooks in this. And so if I wanted to go in, let's say I built one handbook and it needed to be edited and I just wanted to build another one, you can build as many as you want in this tool. And so that makes it valuable for you in case you need that. The other thing I would say is if you have the Elite subscription, you can actually build the handbook here and then work with an HR pro, an individual who's certified in HR, and they can actually help you edit that handbook to make sure you're confident about it if you have that Elite tier.
Oh, wonderful. So they can help you with creating the handbook and making sure that it looks good for your business needs. Is that right?
Exactly. And we always, I'll talk about this later, but the HR pro, speaking with them and helping them get with document creation is unlimited. And so what I would tell people is use it as much as you want. You know, people love watching Netflix and binging on Netflix. I would say binge on your HR pro. Whatever you can ask them to do, ask them. They'll obviously have limits in terms of what they can provide, but I would say always ask the question, or always see if you can get that document help from them, because in Elite, it's included in the subscription. And so encourage folks to use it as much as possible, almost as a second employee in their business, I would say.
Okay, and so just to state again, because I do see quite a bit of questions still coming in about it, and I'll read this one verbatim, but it says, I am still confused about who will have access to this. For example, I am a QuickBooks accountant and have an accountant file. Payroll is included in my QuickBooks Online. Will I have access to this service? I thought it was a yes, but I wanted to check with you.
Yes, that's true. So since payroll is included, when you switch to the new subscription of Premium Elite, you should have access. The only instance where there's a couple of instances where accountant wouldn't have access. One is the Intuit online payroll. It's not rolling out there. The second one is if you're an accountant and you're logging into your client's account. So let's say you're an accountant for Dave's Diner and you're going into Dave's Diner's QuickBooks and you're looking at their HR tab, you would not have access there at that point. But if you have your own payroll subscription, then it would be in your premium or elite plan. I hope that clears that up for folks. I know it's a little bit confusing, but the last thing I would say on that is we are looking to, it's really only a short-term issue. We are looking to roll out access to this service to accountants, even if they are logging into their clients' accounts, but it's just not the case today.
Okay, thank you for that.
Awesome.
Oh,
Okay.
and you know what? I apologize. When is this going to go live, or when is this going to be available for everybody?
So it's starting to roll out now. So we do these rollouts in a staged time just to make sure everything's working appropriately. So we've started to roll it out to new users, and we're doing that over the next couple of months. In the spring is when we're going to be shifting existing users to it. So your existing users probably wouldn't see this into the early spring of essentially prompting them of, hey, do you want to be in core, premium, or elite? And they'll explain more about that process in an upcoming webinar.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, I will actually shift to another great feature of this, which you guys have access to, which is the HR fitness test. So one thing that we heard from a number of accountants was that they want to get an initial assessment of where their employees are from an HR perspective and understand, like, okay, like, you know, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and where do you think you need to work on? And so there's actually an HR fitness test that exists inside this product that they can take. And so you click here, you click begin test, and it's a question that's developed by, it's a questionnaire that's developed by the content resources at Mammoth, that these folks have been working in HR in a long time, and so they can give you an idea of what's right and what's not right. And so they're asking these great questions. So do you understand the risks associated with termination? Yes, we do. Do your managers formally document performance issues? Let's say, realistically, our managers at Dave Steiner are pretty good about it. Are you familiar with the ABCs of leave and benefit laws? Actually, we're not familiar. We need help here. Does your company have a policy for accommodating employees under the Americans with Disabilities Act? We don't provide accommodations today, but maybe that's something that we should be doing. Does your organization have an employee handbook? Yes, we just built it, so we're in good shape there. Do you feel good about your I-9s being completed and stored in accordance with U.S. citizenships? I think we've done the right things. Does your organization have a policy against harassment in the workplace? We have a written policy, but we don't do trainings on the topic. Do you know how quickly employees who have quit or been terminated get their final paycheck? We hold final paychecks until company property is returned. Are you properly tracking and paying all time worked, including overtime, by non-expense employees? Yes, we do. Are you confident that all your exempt employees are properly classified? Yes, we do. Awesome. So you can continue, and then you click submit, and then from there, you'll get access to your HR fitness results. So right here within the product, I can view my results and see that we have a 61 out of 100, and the general summary is time to close the gaps. You may be solid in some areas, but it's likely that you're out of compliance in others. And so essentially, this gives recommendations. It tells you suggested content that you should dive into in order to make that a little bit easier, and just gives an initial assessment for them, which can be very valuable for folks. And so the benefit of this is that you can, tell your clients to take this, and it'll give them an idea of where to go as an initial HR assessment to make sure that they feel good about it. And we've seen that when folks take this checklist, it just helps them build confidence and drive them in the right direction.
You know what I'm seeing a lot, David? I'm getting a lot of questions that say, is this currently only available to U.S. customers, or will this go out to Canada as well?
So it's currently only available to U.S. customers. That's a great question.
All right, thank you so much for that.
No worries, no worries. Awesome. Okay, so a few other things I wanted to show you before we move on to talking about the Elite subscription are one, the job description library. So this is just another great tool to help your clients save time as they're going through this. Is essentially it is canned job descriptions for any role that they might be hiring for. So what this does is oftentimes writing a job description will come from another company's website, or they might write it themselves. It's something that's a low confidence task for a lot of people because they're not doing it often. But here, literally anything they're looking for typically is in this job description library. And all you have to do is just click on it. Let's say it's construction laborer, and you can download that document and have access to a full job description that's available to them. And so we've gotten a lot of great feedback from folks that this has saved them a lot of time, and it's very comprehensive, as you can see. All of these different roles, this is just for accounting that they've built. And so it makes it really, really simple. So it essentially just takes that job description task off of your client's plates as they're thinking about doing that. Awesome. So the last thing I want to dive into before we talk about Elite is actually the checklists and guides. So one of the best feedback that we got from this tool as we started showing it to folks was really around the checklists and essentially giving them confidence as they're going through these processes. One of the most popular ones was this new employee orientation checklist. And essentially what it does is just provide a simple view into what they need to be doing when they're hiring someone. And so you can see a preview here, but it's making sure you have the W-4, making sure you have the I-9, making sure you have a state withholding form if applicable. All of these other areas where they can go, okay, like, did I do this? Did I not do this? It makes it a little bit easier for them as they're going through this process. So as these small businesses mature and they, launch an employee handbook, they're giving out formal offer letters, and they want to keep all of this documentation in place, having these checklists just builds confidence and makes sure folks are doing it in the right way. Because as you mentioned, one of the things we heard most frequently in this survey was gathering employee documentation was one area of a pain point for folks in terms of what they work on. This can essentially just make this easier and give folks more confidence as they're going through that.
For those job descriptions, are they? Can you actually edit those by chance? Can you edit the job descriptions?
You can. So I believe let's actually go back to the job descriptions. All of the job descriptions are Word documents. And so they
Okay.
can go in and edit that easily if they like to.
Thank you. That is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So they can edit those very, very simply. Awesome. So that's all I wanted to review for the tool. As you can see, there's a lot more here that folks can dive into if you have time as you're looking for it. But it's really valuable. There's really a bulk of resources and a lot of opportunity to give folks content to help them build confidence, tools to help them save time, as well as just keep them up to date on other areas. I'm actually going to shift back to the presentation right here to talk a little bit more through this. The last area I wanted to cover on the product is actually when they sign up for Premium Elite, they'll also get email notifications. The benefit of this is there are legal alerts anytime a law changes, and there's also question and answer alerts that come up when someone has a particular question. And so we've seen a lot of great feedback. Again, small businesses are busy, they have a lot going on, and these email notifications just help people stay up to date. And so as these business owners are thinking of like, well, should I upgrade to Premium or Elite as a part of this new rollout? These email notifications are actually a great tool because it just helps folks build confidence and stay smart on areas that are related to HR. Awesome, awesome. A quick comment on these two areas. One thing that folks should know is last year, and I believe this was in another In the Know webinar, within online payroll, you can actually purchase health insurance through Simply Insured, our partner, within the dashboard. The big benefit of that is it's health insurance. It's built for smaller companies, so it's a little bit more cost efficient, as well as all of that deductions and tracking is integrated directly into QuickBooks, so it makes it a little bit easier for them. That's available in the benefits tab, which is separate from what I showed you. Actually, as I go to the Elite experience, you can see that. If you see this benefits new tab here, that's where you can find health insurance. The second thing for 401k is we actually just launched a partnership with the company Guideline, which is similar to Simply Insured, is a simple 401k provider that provides low-cost 401ks for employees for about $39 a month. And all of that is also directly integrated into payroll. And employers don't even have to offer a 401k match if that's something that's too expensive for them. So it's something that's really simple. And both of those products are live today. You can find the 401k Guideline integration if they go into the apps section of the product and get access to it. So if that's something that you've been looking to make easier for your clients, looking to integrate into QuickBooks, both of those are available today for folks if they need them. Awesome. So with that, I'll talk quickly through the Elite experience. So essentially, the difference with Elite is you get access to this HR Pro. The HR Pro, as I mentioned earlier, is a certified individual. You can call this phone number anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, or they can actually send your question, which is they essentially type the question online, and then an HR Pro will submit their answer back to you, and you can do that at any time. And these HR pros have worked in HR for at least 4 years. They have a ton of information, and the big benefit here is they can give personalized advice. Oftentimes, HR is a very stressful situation, and so let's say there was a conflict in your particular, a conflict in Dave's Diner between two employees, or you're thinking about offering a new policy. The benefit of calling the HR Pro is what we've seen with HR is typically the first question that someone asks isn't always the question that they necessarily need the answer to, but sometimes it's helpful to talk it through with someone who can give you advice on those follow-up questions. And so you can call the expert. They're very well trained. and give very personal advice, and talk it through with them. We've had a few phone calls, and honestly, sometimes it feels like you're talking to your psychologist. You talk about your issue, you sort of uncover like, okay, like I thought I was talking about a conflict, but actually I probably need to make sure I'm following the minimum wage and overtime laws I didn't even realize. And they give you a lot of additional information, and you end those calls really in a confident position. And so we definitely recommend for someone, really who might be dealing with HR issues now, looking to build that out as a muscle, having access to that HR pro is really valuable, and it's unlimited. Once you sign up, it's included in the plan, and you can call them anytime that you want. You can have them help with documentation. It's a really valuable resource if you take advantage of it.
Okay, that's wonderful. I really like that feature as well.
Awesome. So with that, that is all that I had going through that. And I know we answered a bunch of other questions throughout the presentation, but I'd love to hear, Angel, if there's any other questions that popped up that didn't get answered, I can certainly answer them now.
You know what? I think we seem to be great on time, and I like to respect the time of the attendees that do come to the webinar. So any questions that you guys do put in the questions log, I will be sending over to David. And again, those will be uploaded to the website in about a week with answers respectfully to that. I don't think we'll ask any more now. We can at least get to poll question number 4. That's okay. And what I'm going to do, David, is thank you so much for presenting. That was wonderful. I do appreciate that, especially because we presented this topic before we were able to have the product managers for the Elite versus Premium on, who will be on next month, by the way. What I will do is I will own this, and I will edit the handout, if you guys can give me about next week, to put the differences between Elite and Premium at a higher level, and then if you do attend next month, we will be having them on as well. We do have the accountant resources that are available on the handout. Really quickly, just going to run through it because I want to be mindful of your time. So I will let you know that I will be attending QuickBooks Connect as a support agent, and I will be helping people in person because that's what I like to do. I will be going all the days, and I did have them give me a promo code for the In the Know. So if you would like to go to QuickBooks Connect, and this is also included on the handout, they did make me a promo code for today. So there we go. And obviously, we're going to have all of these slides, and I apologize for going very quickly, in the handout that will be included in the GoToWebinar, and it is included in the email that gets sent out, I believe, but I can double check on that. So I'm going to just go through these really quickly here since we're at 12:02 for time, 12:03. And if you guys do need anything else or do have any more feedback, please put that in the questions log there. All right, so all of this is included in the handout. I want to thank you guys for attending. I want to thank David for presenting, and Paul and Nicole for answering the questions in the questions section. This has been my first one, so I know I stumbled a bit, but I want to appreciate all of you guys for joining me today. We will be here next month, November. It'll be on November 21st, and we will have a deeper dive into that Elite and Premium payroll offerings. Okay, thank you for attending, and you guys have a great day on purpose, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.